I found this frame in the home section at the Dollar Tree. We're going to pop it apart and spray paint it. I thought the shape on this was so beautiful and I wanted to turn it into a pumpkin. So I took it outside. I used my real orange spray paint by Rust-Oleum, and I'm going to now put that to the side after it had dried. Obviously, I brought it back in, and I'm going to cut apart the plastic piece. I just took my scissors, I went down a straight line, cut around that little clip, and then came back up, because we're going to be using that to put a whole bunch of patterned scrapbook paper on it. This is the easiest craft. We're going to just take 2-inch strips and 1-inch strips, and we're going to just layer them and pattern them however you would like. This is such a fun project that any age and any craft level can completely try it and be very successful with it. Now we're going to take some adhesive. You can see that I roughed up my paper edge. I thought that would look very scrapbook chic and cute. And then I'm going to come back in with my scissors and the overhang from that plastic sheet that was inside the frame. I'm just going to trim it down. Once I've got it trimmed down on one side and the other side, I'm going to also put scrapbook pattern paper on the back of it because I wanted it to be able to be versatile. You can turn it either way and both sides are really cute. So once I've got that all trimmed up, I'm going to go ahead and use the rest of that pattern paper and do the exact same process, adding on the adhesive and then cutting it down to size. Now once I'm all done with that and I've trimmed it all down, I'm going to go ahead and pop it back into the frame. And here's the cute thing. You really could put a darling picture on the pattern paper and that could be really cute too and actually use it back as a frame. But I wanted to use mine, like I said, for a pumpkin. There's lots of possibilities with this as a pumpkin. You can use it as a frame or you can use it as a frame table decor. Alright, now once I've got that all popped back together and it snaps back really easily, now we can leave it like this or we can add a little bit more, which is my favorite step. I'm going to make this have a crackle finish to it. I really love the Folk Art Crackle Paint Mixed Media liquid, and I know some people say you can use Elmer's glue. I have not tried that, but I really love the finished look that this Crackle Paint Mixed Media liquid does on projects. So once I put a nice thick coat on it, I let it dry, and then I'm going to come in with a peachy orange color. I love that the crackle underneath was the darker orange and then the lighter orange on top. I just thought that this was so beautiful. Once I've got a nice thick coat on, and you want to work quick by the way with this stuff because it starts working almost immediately. You really can't drag your paintbrush through it a whole bunch of times because it will start to pull the paint. So I went ahead, painted all around it, and once it was dry, I really wanted the shape of the frame to pop out more. So I'm going to come in and dry brush all along the edge so we can see that beveled, beautiful edge on the frame. I'm just going to come back over, add in a little bit of a rustic farmhouse flair to it, and bringing forward that edging. Now for the top, you honestly could use anything for the stem of this pumpkin, but I decided it would be really cute to try rope. So I'm just cutting out 4 pieces of the same length of rope. I'm going to add some glue on top of 2 of them smushed together, and then center that 3rd rope right in the middle of those 2. Let that dry for a second, flip it over to the other side, and then glue that 4th one into that other side. So it makes this really, really cool stem to my pumpkin frame. And then I'm going to trim it down, and I want it to lay flat on the frame. I don't want it to fall off over time. So I decided to rip just a little bit up that rope so that I can lay it flat down onto the top of that bevel edge of the frame. And you can see here how it's laying nice and flat, and it's almost just the perfect fit for it. So I'm going to just add some hot glue, glue that right down, and it's actually going to get into the crevice of the frame's crack where you can seam it back together and take it apart, change out the middle part. Now I'm going to add on a green bow. I thought the green was such a really fun contrasting color, and it went along with all the fall colors, bright and happy. And now I'm going to add a button. There I am with my buttons. I can't help myself. I have a whole collection of buttons and all different colors. I am so in love with buttons. I just think they're the cutest, most whimsical thing to add to a project. So I'm going to add that button right in the middle, and at this point I'm going to stop there, and it's ready to be displayed in my home. Grab one of these tag signs. Dollar Tree has so many of these tag signs, so just grab whatever season they have them in store. And we're going to grab one of these wood wreaths. It's kind of almost in the shape of an oval. They have these in their floral section, and 2 of these tumbling blocks. Start by taking off that tag and cutting some fabric to fit the size of the tag wood sign. I do not like having an unfinished backside, so I'm just cutting this fabric with a real quick snip around, and I'm just going to glue that on so it cleans up the backside and it looks so much more finished like this. Then I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to give it a nice coat of a beautiful pumpkin orange. I did 2 coats because orange is an opaque color. It usually takes about 2 coats for that to be nice and vibrant the way I wanted it to look once it was all dry. This part might scare a lot of people, but it's going to be so beautiful in the end. So if the dry brushing is not your thing, you don't have to do it. But I'm just going to take some of this off-white paint, make sure I only have a little bit, and I'm going to dry brush around the sides. Now I know this looks a little scary, but look at the results when it's done. It's added so much texture, and it reminds me of the Cinderella pumpkins that you can get at the fall time. Now I'm going to take some hot glue. I'm going to take that wreath that we have from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to glue it down with a whole bunch of glue. And I'm also going to add in those little 2 tumbling blocks. This is going to represent the stem at the top of a pumpkin. At this point, you can decorate it however you would like. I'm going to come in with some of these creamy, peachy, almost tan-like leaves that they have at the Dollar Tree. I'm going to play around with those leaves in just a little bit further in this video. But now I'm going to glue down my grateful wood cutout, glue that on, and then add on a few more of these leaves and a couple of these berries that were from all the same pick. Now at this point we can leave it like this, but I don't like that the top has that little drilled out hole. So I'm going to make a twine thick bow. And I've had a lot of you ask me to slow down to show how I make this. I start with a long end to my twine, and then with my 4 fingers spread it out, I wrap it around my hand probably about 10, maybe 12, 13 times until it's nice and thick. I have another long end at the other end. I take one of those ends, wrap it around the middle a whole bunch of times, and then I tie a couple of knots. This is going to give you this really beautiful loopy twine bow. I leave those tails long at the bottom because I just like how it looks. You could add some more of that twine down at the bottom for longer tails, but I usually like just the 2 twine pieces coming down, and then I just fluff up the bow really big. And at this point, it's just so pretty and so perfect for fall. Not too understated, but not too overdressed. And now I'm going to just add some hot glue and pop that right into place to conceal that hole at the top, and you've got yourself a beautiful farmhouse fall sign. What would fall be without a gorgeous wreath for our doors in our home? So I picked up this wicker white wreath at the Dollar Tree. They restocked their white sunflowers. I made sure to grab some of those. And now I'm coming in with a whole bunch of color with wheat sticks and leaves. I really wanted to just showcase those beautiful colors that we see in the fall time. Some of these beautiful peonies, berries, and then this very last pick is actually from Hobby Lobby. I'll show it a little bit later in this segment for this project. Now go ahead and take your darkest leaf first, glue those down, and then start to come in with the leaves. This is going to fill up that wreath form. And then as we start to come in with the berries, you're going to want to stick around the sides of the wreath, making sure you're filling it out even more. I'm now going to come in with these beautiful grass wheat sticks, and I'm going to just stick those right down in there. Do you see how I'm sticking all along the sides to add that texture and the volume to this wreath? I just keep playing with it, staking them in, gluing them in place, and then when I get that all to the place I like, I now can come in with my florals. I'm going to start placing all of my white sunflowers in the spots that I have a little bit more of balding areas. I'm going to glue those in because those are a very large item. They're going to do a lot of coverage for those spots, but I like to sporadically place those kind of evenly around the wreath. And then I'm now going to come in with these beautiful, just sunset pink, orange, peachy colors of this peony, and I'm going to just stake those into the wreath in different areas. Now this is that pick I've grabbed from Hobby Lobby, and I'm just going to cut a couple of these because I wanted to bring in a little bit more white to make sure that the white sunflowers don't look stark on it. Anytime you use an off color from something that's really bright and colorful, you want to come back in with another version of that stark color, which is the white sunflower, and then add a little bit more texture in with a different type of floral, but the same color. And that's how you get a beautiful finished look.